There we go. All right. Uh, as always, we want to start out all of our home-based meetings with just kind of a few overview things. And the links to those slides, I'm going to throw back in the chat one more time because I know I've had a few people join. So that's our opening slide deck. We'll go ahead and get started. Moving through our slides here. As always, if you're new to utilizing WebEx, we want to make sure that there's a few base understandings for everybody. You have your microphone, your camera. You can feel free to turn those on and off as you move throughout the session today. Just know that we ask that if your microphone is muted unless you are actively speaking. Oh, there's Rob.
And you, Corey, you're doing great.
Thank you. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
So, as always, you can utilize the chat if you want to ask something or have a conversation with the entire group. You can also utilize the Q&A feature, and that will just come to us here on the home-based side of things. If you're having audio issues, check those three little dots. You may want to switch or use your call-in feature. And we also enabled closed captions, and those will be active or available to you throughout the session for today. If you have any other questions or have any issues with WebEx, just let us know. So just home-based overview for you guys. So what is HomeBased if you're new to this conversation? Well, we provide a variety of services across the state for you all, and we want to be the definitive seamless solution for digital resources for North Carolina. So we have our student information, which is PowerSchool. We have our instructional improvement system, which is SchoolNet, our learning management system, which is Canvas, our open educational resources, which is Go Open, our North Carolina Educator Evaluation System, which is NESIS, our digital literacy, which is learning.com, and our supplemental math, which is Imagine Math. So all of those resources are available to you across the state. So we also want to understand the purpose for these meetings. They are for a variety of reasons. So primarily we want to have conversations and engage with you all throughout the state. So we know that this session is valuable and meaning for you. So we want to make sure that this is not just me, just talking as much as I love to hear myself talk, but want it to be meaningful for you all and have a conversation about how we can support you or ways or ideas that you may have that we can help elevate and support across the state. The links to all of our presentations are here, so we're going to jump over into these Go Open, but if you have any of the home-based meetups that you missed this week, you can certainly check out their slide decks there. This was our registration page where hopefully you all registered for previous ones, but you can go back and get those if you want to access the recordings for any of those previous meetings. And they will also be posted on our NCDPI YouTube channel probably early next week. Schedule for our home-based meetup. So here we are today at Friday the 19th. Our next sessions will be in February and in May for the spring semester of 2022. They all will be held virtual this year. Just as a heads up there, we are looking at changing up our schedule to hopefully be more in person next school year, but we thought it would be out of the safest practice for everyone across the state to just maintain virtual for the remainder of this academic year. Some meetup updates. So these are just some highlights from the various meetups that have occurred this week. So from PowerSchool, we did have the maintenance weekend. It was successful on November the 5th. And they will be conducting a new coordinator training March 7th through the 11th. So if you have someone who is a new coordinator in your PSU, be on the lookout for communications about that training opportunity. In a similar fashion, SchoolNet is going to be leveraging some Trans-In training and some features for 21-22. So if that's something that your PSU is interested in, please contact John Mars and he can help with that. Yesterday we talked about in the Canvas Go Open or Canvas home-based meetup about some more opportunities for support from our priority service team. So go check out that recording once I get it posted if you have questions about that. Just as a reminder, and some things that we're going to be covering today is continuing to encourage teachers and leaders in your PSU to share resources, that our resources are growing and go open. And we're going to talk about today about, as hub administrators, how you can kind of manage your hub now entirely. For learning.com, trackpad got away from me. For learning.com, those tier one allotments have been released. So please be sure, if you're one of those PSUs, that you're aware of that for your respective uh, district. For NESIS, the central office review only role has been implemented. So if you've noticed any changes there for anybody at your PSU level that's had their role changed or have any questions about that, please reach out to Cami. She can certainly help with any questions. And as always, we are here to provide training and resources for you all. So if you have any questions or concerns or want to talk to us, know that we are here for you and provide training. And the last thing that we have is our home-based survey. So thank you for those that filled that out. We got over 4,000 responses. We are reviewing that data, and we're actually going to look at some of that data today, specifically for Go Open in our time together that we were able to collect from as a part of that survey. Please make sure that you're interacting with us on social media. We are trying to do a very concerted effort in making sure that resources and opportunities are available to our teachers and leaders across the state. So make sure that your PSU or your accounts personally are following and liking all of our information out there. Next, we want to congratulate Dr. Dietrich in being promoted to the Director for Digital Teaching and Learning. We're very excited for him in this opportunity, and it actually took place in November the 10th, so we're just making sure that people are aware of that. So we're very excited for him, and we know that he can't get away from us at the HomeBased team, so that we'll continue to bug him even in his new role, but we're very excited for him in that capacity. And this is our home-based team here. So we are moving forward with looking for a home-based manager. We need somebody to manage us. We a difficult crew, that's for sure. No, I'm just kidding. These are a great group of people that I have the opportunity to work with, and there are their contact informations there and the various products that we all support. So if you have any questions, and I'll circle back to this slide at the end of our presentation today for that feedback form. If there are no questions, I'm going to go ahead and jump over into our Go Open slides for today. All right, my wait time, y'all, was never good as a classroom teacher. All right, so in the chat and on my screen here are our slides for today. We do not have a very lengthy meeting planned. I can go ahead and tell you that. I really just want to provide some information and some updates for you guys and some resources that we've created here. And if there's any questions or concerns, I would love to have a discussion about any of them, but I want to just provide some communication and resources for you all, because I know that it's a busy time of the year. It's always a busy time of the year, and that as much as I can do to help alleviate that, that's what I want to be as a resource for you all. So today's agenda: welcome introductions. We're going to do some updates from Go Open. I've got some resources created to share with you all. We're going to look at that home-based feedback data, and then any closing and reflections that we're going to have. So welcome introductions. If you wouldn't mind in the chat putting your name, your role in the PSU. So I'll give you a little bit to do that, just so we know who's on the call with us today, and so that we can collaborate together. Some people from all across the state today. That's awesome. That's exciting. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate your willingness to kind of sit with us and have some conversations today about Go Open and some resources that we have to share with you today. All right, so the first thing in the Go Open updates. So I was made apprised of this maybe a week or so ago. So there was some structural changes to how hubs are administered in Go Open. So if you are currently a hub administrator for your district, or if your district has a hub and you are one of those administrators, you have the ability to fully manage that now, including building and editing sections, adding people, removing people. And I know that some of those were kind of limited in the past, something that myself or Pam would have had to have done as the statewide administrator. So know that that change has already been placed into effect. So if you have a hub and you are an administrator already, you already have those rights and privileges. So if we're not sure what a hub is, and here again, I don't mean to belittle anyone by this conversation, but I wanted to kind of give a definition in case someone is new to the call. But a hub is essentially, and they do a really good job on this explanation page here under the support articles about kind of defining and giving you a graphical representation of what a hub is. But it's a way to collect and share resources in whatever grouping and fashion. So, there's hubs on Go Open that are specific to school systems. So your PSU may have their own hub. We have ones for some PBS resources that we've been working and collaborating with them. The North Carolina Zoo has their own hub. So it's just a way of organizing resources in a way and allowing a more refined group, if you will. So I did want to make you aware of that change. I also wanted to let you know, just kind of show you what an example hub. So I hope Moore County doesn't mind that I just went to the hubs and grabbed theirs, but it just kind of gives you a landing page. So as hub administrators, you should have the ability to manipulate all of this now when you go into the admin portal from your side to change how your hub is laid out, who is within your hub, and what resources are highlighted on your landing page here, if you will. But I'm also happy to help collaborate in any way of that. So if you look at your hub or if you want a hub, we can have a separate one-on-one call about moving forward and either crafting or rebranding or revitalizing any hubs that may exist out there across the state. So if you want a hub, just reach out to me. I'm happy to help create you one for your district or your PSU. I'm happy to help do that. And we can, like I said, have a conversation about how to brand it and make it look engaging for your users that may come to that at your PSU. If you have a hub and maybe you don't know if there's been a change of personnel, you may not know who your hub administrator is. Also, feel free to reach out to me. I can tell you who that is, or if there needs to be any changes that occur, I can get you elevated to a hub administrator. And then once you have someone who is your hub admin, you can kind of run with it from there based on these new settings and permissions. I'm going to pause here and say, are there any questions or comments about hubs or any of these changes that have occurred? You can feel free to unmute yourself or utilize the chat.
Hey, good morning, Corey. This is John Marshall in Davie County. You have created a hub for us. Is there a way to get possibly a short training for admin side to help us in terms of uploading materials and all those kind of things?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can schedule that if you is that something that anyone else on the call would be, or John, we can do just something specifically for you guys in Davie. It doesn't matter to me. I'm happy to help in any way, shape, or form.
Excellent. Thank you. We'll try and schedule that with you. I'll send you an email.
Okay, sure. Sounds good. Yeah, same goes for anybody else. If you're, like I said, looking into starting a hub or need some refresher training, I'm happy to help with that. Just reach out to me and we can schedule that. We can do that virtually, or I don't mind traveling out to your PSU as well. And we can do some of that in training if you would prefer.
We also don't mind going out to your region. If you've got other folks in your region that can come to you and we can do a regional training for you, we are very happy to do that as well.
Yeah. But like I said, just wanted to make you all aware of this change. And so that it really gives you a lot more flexibility, specifically within your hub, to kind of do what you need to do to make it beneficial for your use. and doesn't necessarily have to involve myself or anyone here at the DPI level. There's that added level of administrative abilities. So just wanted to make you aware of that. Some resources that that we have that we can share with you all. So the first thing is a home-based admin guide. So this document and is a what people like to call a living document, if you will. So the idea is that we're going to continually update this and add to it. It's by no means perfect or finished, or I don't know that it ever will be either of those things. But what we wanted to do as a home-based team was provide administrators with resources. And by administrators, I mean those at the district level who are responsible for these products or programs within your PSU. So this guide is kind of just a walkthrough. I've basically just explained what that is on that page, just a nice little letter saying kind of this what this resource is for. Our home-based team, and look, it's already out of date because it has Rob Dietrich there at the top. He's done left us. He's gone. Just know that it will be a continually changing document. But we have these links here at the top in this table of contents. So I'll start with the Canvas one here. And what we have designed it to be is a very 30,000 foot view for whoever is a new administrator to those products. So if I am coming into my PSU and I've never been a Canvas administrator or I've never been a Go Open NC administrator, what are the things that I immediately need to know to be beneficial, and where can I get more information? So that's kind of what we have done through these pages, is providing those resources to those individual products. So what is Go Open NC? What are the goals? How do I access it? How do I access the materials within inside of Canvas if we use Canvas as my LMS? What kind of materials are there? How can I share them? And, there's links to external things here because we didn't want it to be so in depth of a document that it was overwhelming. Like I said, we really just wanted to provide a surface level resource, kind of to what those products are and how you can access them. And you can navigate using the home button here to bring you back to that table of contents. So you can go and look at the products that we have there at the home-based level, and know that, like I said, it is a living document, and we're going to continue to update it as we go throughout the years of supporting these products. But feel free to share that out with others in your PSU. Like I said, because there are multiple products here at this time that we're supporting. Any questions about that admin guide? And, if something's spelled wrong, then I didn't type it. Someone else did, I'm sure. The jokes are free, guys. It's extra. All right. Some other resources that I have crafted specifically for Go Open is just kind of a ways of rebranding some communication and reminding people that it is a resource out there to share. So what I kind of did was took that home-based administrator guide and pared it down to specifically what a teacher might need to know, and made a teacher guide for you all. And it has a lot of the same similar resources that the admin guide does, but obviously not specifically about managing anything, but just overall information about how to access. Oh, thanks, Tessa, for putting that in the chat. For you to share with your teachers. And I thought with that, there might be some communication that you want to send out. And by no means am I a person who has a degree in English. I was a science teacher, so you're not going to hurt my feelings if you wanted to take this or not use it at all. But what I wanted to do was craft some communication that might be beneficial if you wanted to put this out in any sort of district level or PSU level communication. I was trying to get you something that was pre-made, so the amount of work that would be involved for you all would be minimal. So let me make sure I did say that sharing permissions right. Oh, my computer's getting real angry. Close out some tabs. And then, of course, I included the Go Open logo if you wanted to brand that with it as well. But I wanted to make sure that if you wanted to communicate this out to your teachers, that you had as much as information as possible prepared and ready to go. Any questions on any of that? Okay. Well, use it, take it, leave it. You're not going to hurt my feelings, but you can't say I didn't offer it to you. So, all right. Q&A time. So what I wanted us to do was just pause for a second and have any opportunity for you all to ask any questions, concerns, things that you were seeing in your PSU in regards to Go Open. And if there's anything that we can do to help address that, or any questions or ideas that you wanted to share with the group. So I made a Padlet, and this Padlet does have two purposes. So you'll see a couple of different things. The first three questions are really what we're focusing on right now as you open this document. Problems that you're seeing, questions that you have, or anything else that you wanted to bring up. Those four questions we'll get to in just a second when we're talking about the data that we're going to review. But I didn't want to have to make more than one Padlet because I didn't want people to get lost. But I want to take a few seconds to pause here and let you guys give an opportunity to collaborate here and ask any questions that you have. Or how's it going? You know? Any struggles, hurdles that we're seeing, questions, concerns, feedback from any of your teachers, all are relevant things. Usage data. Is there a way to tell frequently our teachers are using these resources? That's such a relevant question. If anyone wants to expand upon that, if you ask that question, or if anyone else has had that same question, thoughts and opinions.
That was me. We've shared the resource and we continue to advertise and share it, but I have no clue how often it's being used at the district. So I'd love to know if they are using it or not.
I can tell you that as a person who has come into this role recently, that is a question that I have been asking because I want to know the value that it's being added to across the state. So right now, I'm in conversations with the Go Open ISKME group and trying to ascertain ways in which we can do that readily. There are some things that I can tell and pull in Google Analytics because it's a website, obviously, so that we have the ability to look at that. But as far as more refined, specific reports on what particular or specific resources teachers are utilizing, I'm still getting some clarity on that. But as far as overall web traffic, I can tell some of that information, and I'm happy to, if you want to ask for your specific, if you have a hub for your district, I can get overall information, but without having a hub to focus in on, it's a little more difficult to ascertain that, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. That's what I was kind of thinking is that they'd have to be hitting your hub to
Mhm.
know. I didn't know because, if they go in through NC Ed Cloud, if there was a way to track it back, but
Not that I'm aware of currently, but that's an interesting idea. because their UID would be associated with their specific PSU if there's a way for those databases to talk to each other. Oh, Rob's interest has been piqued now.
Yeah, mine has on a little bit of things. Corey and I have actually been having a lot of conversations about that usage data because Corey and I are both data people. We want to see what's being used, what's not being used, and where, because mainly if there's really good resources out there, we want to promote them and we want to make sure everyone else sees them, because the whole point is making the education experience better for a student and a teacher. So that is a very good question that we are taking back with them and asking them for more information. I am very curious, from the person who said lack of resources, can you come off mute and expand on that a little bit for me if you are brave enough to do so? And maybe where you're seeing those lack of resources.
Hey there, it was me. One of the things that we were looking for in the last couple of weeks is information for the North Carolina project that our fourth grader teachers were doing. Just, looking to see there. And I said, hey, let's first go and see. And we just, seems like we're just not able to find, information that's relevant to our teachers' needs. I'm not sure if that's addressed here or not, but that was one of the things that I had an issue with.
Okay, can you send that to an email to Corey, just so that we're aware that those are resources that need to be added, and we will try to get folks out there to add them.
Please, yes.
Okay, I certainly will. Thank you so much.
Thank
Corey,
you.
send it to him.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And if you have great resources that you want to put up, please feel free. Thank you for sharing.
Yes. That's totally the purpose of these calls is to get feedback and for you guys to be able to collaborate. Because if there are resources that may exist in a hub that align to that, that's certainly a way for the whole purpose of Go Open is to share those. But yes, my email's there in the chat for anyone who may or may not have it. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Okay. So I will work with you guys to see what we can find about data, and I will continue to update this group on ways that we can pull information specifically for you guys. And yes, please email me about those resources, and I will see what I can do to find stuff or communicate out to ask for things from other PSUs. Looking at our HomeBased survey feedback data, I did want to share a few of those things. And the first few slides here are actually data that I have gone in and specifically pulled from Go Open. So I wanted to show you kind of a breakdown of where our resources are currently falling. And this may be, it's maybe a couple weeks old at most. I think I pulled this beginning of, or maybe mid-October, so maybe about a month now. And I did exclude any resource or data with less than 5 resources in that category, just because the pie chart is already crazy looking, but I didn't want it to be any worse. But this kind of breaks down. And so when you share a resource in Go Open, you can tag it to a certain grade span or multiple grade categories. And so what we're looking at right now is the majority of our resources, which I thought this was interesting, are framed around lower and upper primary singly or specifically, and then you have ones that are tagged in multiple categories. But just wanted to share that as an initial data point. And we're going to reflect back through these in that Padlet with some of those questions. Looking at the subject area, here again, also excluding resources with less than 5 in that category. Mathematics is the number one with, a significant amount of resources that are being provided there, well over 50%. And then the next one being followed up with professional development resources, which I thought was interesting. And there's a smattering, and here again, like the grade span categories, you can pick more than one. So there is some selection data there that kind of exists with the pie chart and the way that breaks down. Looking at the home-based survey feedback, so this is one of those questions that was asked: how often do you utilize GoOpenNC? And our response number was 92, so smaller pool, but still not a bad sample size. And kind of what I would expect or anticipate, about 60-ish% are going in weekly or monthly, and then semi-annually, annually, and quarterly are much smaller. Or excuse me, weekly. This one is quarterly. I need to not be not colorblind, but not paying attention. Making sure that we have a lot of people going in there monthly and quarterly. But I was surprised at the larger percentage of these two, given that a lot of people are doing things in either semester or a year-based format. Next question is, what is the primary reason that you do not utilize GoOpenNC more frequently? Here, a much, much smaller sample size, so I have to take that into consideration with the data. So lack of resources, lack of time, and forget are the number 3 reasons why that kind of breaks down. So the thing that I would love to correlate is maybe looking back at those responses and saying, what, I don't think we asked this question, but what subject area that some of these lack of resources might have fallen under, so that if there was any correlation between those two. But I was trying to address the lack of time and or I say the forgetting and unaware responses by, here again, putting together some of those communications and resources for you all to share out internally with your PSU to maybe help address those numbers. I don't know that I can't make more time in the day. Unfortunately, I don't have that ability. But I can help to work with you all to address the lack of resources that may or may not exist in the product. And then I think the last question that we're going to look at here is, overall, how valuable is GoOpenNC to your professional practice? And here we had 118 responses, 0 being not valuable at all, and 10 being extremely valuable. So we had a mean of 5.5, so right down the middle, and a standard deviation of 2.6, almost a symmetric bell curve with a nice slant towards the upper end, which is, I would say not too terrible as a representation of kind of where things are. So with that being said, I want to do some data reflection with you all. And so we're going to jump back to that same Padlet. And what I would like for you all to do, and I'm going to actually go, I'll leave it on this Padlet screen, but if you all will look at those 4 slides that we just looked at and kind of answer these questions here. So what was surprising about the data to you? What do you think this tells us? What do you think it doesn't tell us? And what actions do you think need to occur based on this data? So I'm going to give you the next 5 or 10 minutes or so to look at that or think about that and fill out those questions. Okay, so if you're finishing up your thoughts here, you can feel free to do that. But I wanted to start maybe going over a few of these and having some conversations around them. So low response rate seems like there's a small sample size for response for the whole state. Yes, I thought that too. But I think and Rob can maybe correct me here in this, if they selected that they didn't utilize a particular product, I don't know that they saw those sets of questions. I think the form was adaptive in that way. So they may not have seen even the questions for Go Open because they may have selected they either don't know or don't utilize that particular product. So that could account for some of that. Resource development, absolutely. I do think that the data tells us that we need to focus on secondary resources, and we know that teachers in the secondary level have resources. It's just making sure that they know about it and have the willingness to share those resources with their colleagues across the state. Yep, PR about Go Open. I definitely agree that that's something that I am working on and want to work on further. Is how do we communicate that out and make sure that people are aware of that. Um, I also think that there is a shared responsibility with that, with the PSUs, and making sure that I can put things in emails that go out to things across the state, but that may not necessarily be directly reaching teachers. So I think that we all have to make sure that we are reminding people about that. And here again, kind of why I put those resources together for you all to share, as well as what I plan on sharing out across the state. Advertise and ad. Maybe we need to get some billboards. Or maybe one of those things you pull behind a plane. I don't know. Could be a fun idea. Rob, how do I fill out a budget request for a plane? He's just ignoring me now. He's not paying me no mind. It's fine. So I think that's definitely some work that I'm going to continue to do and continue to encourage you all to do. So if you see posts that are going to start coming out about Go Open and marketing that you would, like I said, referencing back to that social media in the opening slides, if you, not you yourself, maybe whoever your communication person is for your different district can help promote that. It's another way, just making sure that that teachers are able to see those resources and know that that's there. What does the data not tell us? What they're using instead? That is a very good point. We don't know if they're just Googling things, using teacher pay teachers, or any of the other school-based resources, or things that you all as a district may provide to them. So we don't know what they're using instead of that. We hope that they are using something. So we want to make sure that that we can account for that. So maybe some feedback for an additional survey moving forward. The data also does not tell us if it's utilized in one district heavily more than the other. So that kind of gets to what we were talking about earlier in some ways that we can disaggregate the data within Go Open, the platform itself, and know how it's being utilized. Overall. Teachers would go in more if there's a better return on their time. Absolutely. Yep, and I agree with that. What actions we need to take? We need to work on beefing up those resources. I think that the hard thing that I struggle with that sometimes that's kind of a double-edged sword, if you will. In order to get them to go to it and there be high quality resources there, we have to first get them to go to there and share their high quality resources. So I think we have to market that in a way as, helping to support content areas where teachers may struggle, or someone who's like a BT, or someone who may be teaching a new discipline for the first time, as our licensure can cover a wide span of content areas. So I think that's a way that we kind of have to sell it in that way, or that's my thoughts and opinions. Right. It's hard to get them to share back. We want to set up a conversation. Teachers need to feel the reward. Yep. I agree. Um, any thoughts on that? I mean, thoughts or ideas around ways that we could encourage or reward teachers for their contributions?
And I was going to say, money and CUs kind of like is the first thing you think about. And I know we did that to begin with Go Open, but I even wonder if just social media plugs, like check out this teacher and the resource she shared, those spotlights and highlights, because that's that's free.
Yeah.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And that's why we need that data to tell us what people are looking at and what the good ones are. That's exactly, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yep. And I do like the idea of spotlighting some teachers. And yep, you're right. Those are all free things that we can do. Teacher influencer status. Yes, we'll get you verified in some sort of social media platform. How about that? Yeah. Give you a verified contributor and Go Open. That's an interesting idea.
And I think it would be spectacular if we could, and I'm not including me in the we part, if we could put up a couple of killer lessons right now, and then when you send out your email, it's not, hey, Go Open and look for some great lessons. You specifically have these lessons, and for me right now would be the perfect time to have these lessons that are geared directly towards preparing for EOCs and EOGs. And these teachers that are telling me, I just don't have time to go into Go Open. I'm let them go in, see these killer lessons, get their feet wet, and then if we have kind of like Cahoots does and other places where you do have verified whatever and Spotlight, lots of these teachers will buy into it once they see these spectacular lessons. Lots of my teachers say they just don't have the time and they'd rather use the lessons they've been using for 25 years that haven't really been working for 25 years. But I think if we could push out just these great lessons that that I know would work tomorrow in my class, get them in there, then I think they'll buy into it.
Some kind of state program for recognition for contributors. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, just like highlighting that. I think that's a great idea. And I think where we have to, and certainly that's something I don't mind doing, is working on it, finding those resources, drafting it in a social media post or platform. But I think also just getting our voice out there, I think is a thing that we've also been talking about as a home-based team, is making sure that people are actually seeing our posts. And so that's where I think this group, I think, can be very helpful, is, when you see when you see that post, liking it, sharing it, any of those things, I think helps spread it across the state. And I think that's a way for us to further that work as a group. So I don't mind working on that and something as a deliverable for you all. So I can work on something like that and get that to you and get that shared out. See. You mean like what resources they would like to see that they may not currently see in Go Open? I don't believe that was a question, but I could be wrong. I haven't looked at the survey in some time. But I could go back and look and see if that was a question. Any other thoughts or comments or questions about the data that we've looked at this morning? Okay, well, if you have any other subsequent thoughts, um, please feel free to reach out. Like I said, my email is in the chat thread. But I think other than that, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to provide any closing thoughts, comments, or reflections. Um, and I'm going to put this feedback survey here in the link. Oh, I just saw that question. Are the resources monitored for quality? There is not necessarily an internal way to do that. You can crowdsource it in a way. There's a way for a teacher or a user, anybody going to the site can flag a resource, and then at that point, it notifies us to review that content. But as far as verifying it for meeting a certain criteria or rubric or any of that, I don't think there's a process in place at this time. Any other thoughts or questions? Stop sharing my screen here. Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And I think that's why I think, here again, circling back to the beginning of our conversation around hubs, why I think they can be so powerful is that hubs give you the ability to know that those resources are specifically within whatever that group may be. So, like resources from the PBS or the North Carolina Zoo, or within your own district if you have your own hub. Um, and so I think that gives the power and the ability to maybe make it so that it's not just so broad like a Google search, if you will, and it's just casting a wide net. By starting in one of those hubs, you're already refining that search in a way that makes it beneficial. But if anyone else has any different thoughts or opinions, that's just been my impressions insofar as is giving that ability to make it a little bit more centralized. All right. If there's anything else I can do for you all to help and support, please be on the lookout for some social media posts moving forward. Please feel free to share any of the resources that I have provided in the slides today. And we'd ask that you fill out our home-based survey feedback. And if not, I hope you all have a lovely holiday, and we're looking forward to chatting with you all after the first of the year. Thank you, guys.